comments made by Jaleel White, who is most famously otherwise known as Steve Urkel from the family television sitcom from the 90s known as Family Matters. If you are a millennial or older, there is absolutely no way whatsoever that you do not know what Family Matters or who Steve Urkel is. But the reason why we are discussing Jaleel White is because he made some interesting comments talking about college. And he described how, although he's grateful for the fact that he was accepted into UCLA, throughout his career, he's never been degree checked. And in hindsight, he wishes that he dropped out of college because all college appears to do for people nowadays is leave them in a whole lot of debt. So this says Jaleel White admits he should have dropped out of UCLA, says college leads many people to a lot of debt. Actor Jaleel White has expressed significant regrets about his college years. In a recent conversation with Melissa Rivers, the Family Matters star shared that while he's proud to have attended UCLA, he now believes he should have left sooner to continue his acting career. I love that I was accepted at UCLA, of course. That's a prestigious thing, but I do wish after 2 years I had dropped out. According to White, he's never been degree checked, and he views the college diploma as merely a tool to keep Americans financially strained. So there's more quotes there, but I'm actually going to play the video so that you can actually hear what he said. So White also shared that his mother was a key motivator in his decision to stay in college, even when he was ready to quit. White joined Family Matters in 1989 and remained on the series until 1998, spanning 9 seasons in total. In 1997, he won an NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Actor in a comedy series for his role as Steve Urkel on the show. In 2001, White graduated from UCLA with a degree in film and television. So here is Mr. Jaleel expounding on his regrets when it comes to the fact that he never dropped out of college.
Coming here somehow, pouring into his class.
I'm gonna run that back since it started off muted.
And this dude is giving college credits, and kids are coming here somehow, pouring into his classroom, feeling that they are enriching themselves. One step closer to that degree. Listen, I hate admitting it, but I love that I was accepted to UCLA.
Of course.
That's a prestigious thing. But I do wish after 2 years I had dropped out. It's
really?
Yeah. And I say it in the book. We're running into an issue now that's starting to become very, I've never been degree checked in my life, Melissa.
Well, neither have
I. Ever, okay? We're running into a period, and pandemic made it really, really apparent. College was supposed to lead you to a better career.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of people in our country, it's just leading them to a lot of debt.
Yeah.
And that has to be figured out. I don't know how it's going to get figured out, what's going to be the tipping point. But, college is, for a person like me to have left college early would have been no different than Kobe Bryant leaving college early to go to the Lakers.
Right.
I just didn't. I had my mom on my shoulder, just clinging to those boomer values, going, you will do no different. And that's the difference.
Yeah, just wait till your daughter's in it. You're going to be like, you're not leaving. And by the way, yes, that history degree has served me so well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, is it crushed it, right?
I use it all the time.
All the time.
Oh, I can relate to that. So, what do you make of what Jaleel White had to say there about the fact that he wishes as though he had dropped out after 2 years at UCLA?
I mean, I agree to the extent that he really didn't need to go. I think he was already, I don't know what the timeline for where he was on TV and stuff, but I mean, the guy he didn't need a college degree. But college. So my problem with college is that people can be learning that stuff in middle school. The way that the American education system is set up is that you are put in position to be have a piece of paper that, like how he says, means nothing, but you do learn a lot of cool stuff, I would say, in college, stuff that you would not have learned in high school or K through 12. So me going to college, I was able to learn certain habits that I needed that carried me through life. My degree did get me jobs, not in particularly in my field, but there is a gate that you have to have a key to. So my degree has gotten me positions to where if I didn't have that bachelor's, I would have been screwed. So yes, we were sold a dream about college. But at the same time, there are good things that you do learn from, being in college and having a college experience. My problem with that is that, again, you can learn all of those core values, disciplines. Hell, most of the stuff that people learn in college could be learned when kids are in middle school. And I feel as though the educational system here is flawed, and you shouldn't have to wait until your junior year in college to actually be learning what the hell you're interested in. And I think it's set up in a way for failure. And so, yeah, I agree with him in the sense that something needs to change, because people walk out of those doors with thousands, tens of thousands, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and no job to run to go pay that off. And so, yeah, I agree with that. But I mean, it's a racket. What else do you expect? And so my word of advice is to people, like he said, like I think he was saying, like, as far as his child or whatever, like, I mean, you got to make sure that you educate your child to the point to where they don't need to go to a university, because this is the last thing I'll say is, once you get up there in university classes and you're taking this stuff, you've been doing it for a while, you start to realize that everything is just the book. And the teacher is there to help sometimes, but honestly, they're just going along with the book. And if you didn't read the book, you're going to fail the class. So it's just a structured way to make sure you read these books. And if that was being taught and cultivated at a younger age, the child would be better off. Now, will they have this degree or certificate? No. So I guess it varies of whatever the person wants to get into. But, the point is that being highly educated isn't something that you should rely on an institution for in order to make sure you make that happen. And I think people need to take the power in their own hands and to educating themselves. And if they have little youngins, making sure that they're being educated the right way instead of relying on these institutions, which is basically money laundering schemes. But what are your thoughts, sir, on Jaleel White saying that, hey, man, he was better off being Kobe Bryant and skipping college? What are your thoughts, bro?
I think his mother did him a grave disservice by making him go. If based on what he said there, because based on the video, his mom was an overwhelming influence in him staying.
Mm-hmm.
And if that is the case, I think that was a mistake on her part. He graduated from UCLA in 2001, which means if he started and did it traditionally for 4 years, he went there in 1997. Family Matters, the final season ended in 1998. So just lining up where he was career wise with the timeline of him going to school, I completely agree with you. I'm not sure I'm understanding why he needed to go. I don't understand why he needed to go unless he just wanted to go for the experience, which I'm not going to take that away from anybody. If you want to go because you want to be able to have the experience, I can understand it, but I can only understand it if you can financially take on that and not come out of the other end with said debt. Very much like you, I'm my misgivings with college aren't necessarily with the institutions themselves, but with this culture around the idea that you have to attend them in order to be able to achieve and self-actualize in life. That's what I'm against. And I have a similar experience to what he described in that I was essentially forced to go without discovering who I am or what reason that I'd have for going in the first place. The idea is this is what you need to do. So you're going to go, and we're basically just hoping on a prayer that you'll figure it out while you're there. And the problem with that hope and a prayer is you can get 2, 4, 5, 6 years in, and if you don't have the financial wherewithal to be able to sustain that without getting into debt, you're now leveraging your future against this hope and prayer. And if you can determine that that's a risk worth taking, go for it. I believe that it's not a risk worth taking. Unless you come from a well-to-do family who can afford to send you who can afford to send you to college, and you don't have to go on the state's dime or any federal loan dimes, you should not participate. You shouldn't attend without knowing what you want to go for. And I think the purpose of these institutions is for individuals to attend them with a sound plan of action. You need to know why you're going. And if you don't know why you're going because you want to have the experience, in my opinion, does not justify the leverage to your future that you will incur by going without that plan in place. So I think you need to know why you're going. And I think that takes some discovery. If there's a kid who's middle class or lower class and they graduate high school, if they don't know who they are, what they're good at, what their latent talent is, therefore they don't know the means by which they would want to leverage that, they need to be given the time to figure that out without shipping them off to these places and taking out these loans and figuring it out on the fly. Because 9 times out of 10, even if they are able to make it out of the on the other end, you're funneling them into the slavery system where they are going to be perpetually depending on a check writer, and they are going to be perpetually clocking into a time clock, or they are going to be perpetually depending on a salary, having to report to work every day for 9 hours like a drone, but not actually self-actualizing. That is the path more often than not that college sends people to if they go without knowing what they want to go for. So I think you need to have a plan. Speaking as someone who did not have a plan, I regret it every day of my life. Oh yeah, I regret it. I regret it 100%. See, unlike Jaleel, Jaleel White wished that he had dropped out after 2 years. Me, on the other hand, I wish that I had just never gone. Or rather, if I was to go, I would have rather gone after 2 years when I discovered what it is that I like to do. The course of my life would have been completely different. I probably would have went to a different school. I would have taken a different discipline, and my career path would have been completely different. Now, I'm not trying to make excuses because as I've gotten older and learned who I was, I can make changes for the better. It's never too late, blah, 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 blah. But time waits on no one, and time is a precious commodity. And the earlier you can figure these things out, the better. So that goes to say that I do believe that college has a place, but I do think that you need to know why you're going. I think you need to know why you're going. I think you need to have a plan. And if you are devoid of that plan, and if you are devoid of that purpose and that mission, you should delay it until you discover that. And if in the meantime you discover that your path lies elsewhere that takes you on a beaten path that is different than college, then so be it. It's your life, and you should be allowed to live that without the influence of others who want to force you into a situation without knowing for sure that that's where you need to be. So I hear where he's coming from, and I feel for a lot of these kids who are coming up in the world and they don't know who they are. And so they're being bamboozled into the idea that, well, I may not know who I am, but I should just attend this institution. And at some point along the way, I'll figure it out. Oftentimes, you don't figure it out. And if you do, you figure it out in lieu of wasting a whole lot of time.
Yeah, I mean, I hear that, and yeah, and I agree with the part where you got to know what you're doing. And I think college, as it stands now, really only serves engineering people and people that want to get into medicine. If you're not doing engineering or medicine, you're completely 100% wasting your time. So yeah, if you were like that lady was joking around like a history person, read your own books. You know, if you want to be somebody that's in, arts, any kind of art, just go to a film school. You don't need to go to college for that. Business administration, same thing, man. It's just like there should be what business do you want to get into, and then get into a thing with that, you know. Do an apprenticeship with somebody, do this and do that. Like, there's ways of doing it. But yeah, so people that's just going there for the social sciences and other things, like if you don't plan on going to get your doctorate in any of these things, where if it's like psychology, you better be getting your doctorate so you got something, you know. But yeah, man, it only serves certain fields. Me, I'm grateful that I went to college. K through 12 did me dirty. It did me dirty, bro. So me going to college and me wanting to get good grades, I had to pay attention and stuff, and study and learn good habits. So it kind of whipped me into shape. And me going to FAMU, man, changed my life. It showed me that I wasn't a crackpot. I wasn't some crazy man, because I mean, we had classes that were actually in line with everything that I was telling people about, or I would do my own research for, and this class is centered around that. Um, and it really helped me because my professors were like older versions of me, and they kind of helped me see the world in a particular way, and they kind of mentored me in a lot of ways. So, but that doesn't mean, so I appreciated it. HBCUs are great for that respect, but at the same time, all right, that doesn't have to wait until you're in your 20s, is my point. And the school system itself is flawed. uh the school system sets you up to go to college. It's a whole setup. So from kindergarten all the way to your graduation in college, it was all a setup to be in this streamline of bogusness. And the human mind is an amazing thing, and retention is an amazing thing, and people are able to learn this stuff, calculus and all of those things, calculus 1 and 2. They can learn that in high school. They can learn that in middle school. But people aren't being pushed or challenged. There's too much society. There's too much in the society about playing and having a good time. And college was a lot of that too, playing and having a good time. So yeah, my problem is with the overall school system, from kindergarten to 12th grade, and then college is just an extension of that. And then a lot of these universities carry with them doctrines that got them thinking in certain ways that are that aren't really helpful, I feel, towards the upward mobility of society, as ironic as that sound, because a lot of those classes are, and or things that are going on there, to take a word from our first conversation, a little too woke. And there's a lot of that stuff going on college campuses as well. You have to think a certain way. You have to be this level of inclusive, that level of this, and there's a lot of that going on too. So these are more or less programming stations. I felt like I kind of bucked the system by going to FAMU, particularly in my major in psychology, because the other classes that I would dibble and dabble in, whether it's political science or business or whatever, they was learning the status quo stuff that don't serve nobody. And everybody that was in those majors more or less was on a status quo. But the psychology department was phenomenal. It really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And so so college can be helpful. You just got to know what you want to do, as you mentioned. And honestly, people that like the people that live around me now, these people from India and stuff, they drive nice cars. They never stressed about nothing because you could tell they got money in the bank, and they all do engineering and stuff, or they're doctors, and they went to college for that. So there's a way for you to set yourself up. But if you go in there for theater, you wasted your damn time. So you got to go to college for the right thing. So as the system's set up now, you got to know what you're doing. But overall, I think it's a racket and extortion of the people, a way to tax them, and a way to keep them in debt, perpetual debt for the rest of their lives in many cases. So hey man, teach their own, man. For my youngin, what I do, if they want to do engineering or be a doctor, then yeah, go through that path. But anything else for that matter, you're getting it off the muscle outside of it.
Yeah, it's not worth the leveraging of your future financially, in my opinion, to go on a whim without having a sound plan. I think every parent or caregiver has a responsibility to really pay attention to your kid and kind of be with them step by step as they mature and get older, and help them understand what are some of the latent talents that they have that they might want to leverage, because that is all a part of discovering what you might want to do once you've reached that critical juncture of going to college or doing something else. And I think a lot of caregivers and parents and people in the households, they take a real hands-off approach in that regard, most people, and they just send the kid to school and that's it. And then come 18, the kid's ready to graduate. And if the kid hasn't figured it out for themselves, the parent is just like, well, go to college. And in my opinion, that's just the wrong approach. I like I said, I don't think college is antiquated. I think it has a place and it is useful. It's just not useful for people who don't know what they want to do or don't know what their plan is. I don't think it is a good idea to attend these four-year universities with no plan in place. I think you have to be very strategic because it can cost you in the long run. It really can. And to me, it's just not worth it. So like you said, you mentioned engineering and medicine, things like, for example, I knew somebody who went to school and learned actuary science. So he came out on the other end knowing how to read stock market charts and understand market fluctuations. He knew how to work the stuff. It was basically a skill set that he learned that put him in position to know how to work the stock market and be like a wealth management investor or a stockbroker. That is a valued skill that he had to attend these courses to learn. So things like that, you do need college for. But as you mentioned, if you're going to get an English degree or you're majoring in theater or any of these other kinds of things, there might be other more pragmatic ways for you to go about gaining that education that can still put you in position to be fruitful in the future without having to leverage that same future with the potential of going in debt. And I think the more often you send people into these places without knowing what that plan is, the higher the likelihood that they will be leveraging that future. So, that's just, obviously I'm personalizing because I'm speaking from experience. And, you learn what, you live and you learn. So I've been able to glean certain things that I would do differently with my own children, which is all a part of the circle of life. But I do believe that we are no longer we are no longer in a time where you can afford literally to be like, well, you might not know what you want to do, but we'll just send you to college so you can figure it out. That is that is an ideal that was applicable 20, 30 years ago. There is no longer a middle class, the middle class no longer exists. You are either affluent or poor. There's no middle ground. You're either below the median household income where you can afford to do things and have disposable income, or you're above that threshold where you can be able to almost do whatever you want. The middle ground no longer exists. And the problem is the majority of the population still exists in what used to be that middle ground. And therefore, not most of us can no longer afford the luxury of being able to ship somebody off to a four-year institution and, you know, have the confidence that they can come out on the other end without too much of their future being leveraged. These days, it is 100% a leverage play. You're either leveraging none of that future because you are confident in the direction that you're taking, or you're leveraging all of it on the chance that they'll figure it out. And me personally, I don't think that that's a chance worth taking. That's just my perspective. And so, from that standpoint, I hear where he's coming from. He should have dropped out. He should have dropped out, especially someone in his position when he already had something charted for himself moving forward. But for people who aren't in the fortuitous position that he's in, it's definitely worth reconsidering.
Yeah, and but he just had to make mama happy, man. You know how that go, and uh, it's either one of those things where everybody in our family goes to college, or nobody has, and you're gonna be the one that do it, or this acting career may not pan out forever, so get yourself a degree. You know how it is, man. And
Yeah.
yeah, man. So just make mama happy, man. And if you're Jaleel White, what you crying about, bruh? I guess he's just mad that he went. I think he's just mad because he shouldn't be crying about debt. That's for damn sure.
I don't think he is. I think he's just speaking on the futility of it in certain respects. I think that's where he was coming from.
Yeah, I
Like,
feel that.
yeah, like I'm in this position where I've never been degree checked before. So why did I go? I should have dropped out after 2 years. So I think he's speaking on the potential futility of it,
Mm-hmm.
which I do think is most people's experience. There's a futility inherent in the approach that I would say the majority of people take to going to college. Not everybody, because some people are fortunate enough to be able to either stumble upon their purpose in life early, and more power to those people. I'm actually jealous of those people. Or they are in a position in which maybe their family has money, their parents are able to comfortably afford to send them to this discovery zone without the risk of them leveraging their future financially to do so. So
Yeah.
those two categories, go ahead, more power to you. But I think the majority of the people aren't in that position, and people are just going on a whim. And these days, like I said, where economics are crazy, the world markets are crazy, there is no more middle class. You're either broke or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
For those people who are in that position where it's like, hey man, we broke, it bears asking the question whether it's worth leveraging that financial future.
Yeah, man. Hey, just get yourself a trade, man. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Just go get a trade. But yeah, man, I agree, man. I think college is a racket, and it only serves you in a few fields, and especially pressing forward the way AI is working out nowadays. Your theater degree really don't mean squat. don't even don't even wait. If your kid's in ninth grade, 10th grade right now, you know what I'm saying? They got a handful of fields that they can get into. And like I said, man, engineering, medicine, or anything in that ilk. But all of that social science stuff, it was a joke 5 years ago. It's even more of a joke now. So don't waste your time with that. Find yourself a trade school, or something else, man, because the tides have changed. And hell, man, this has been a problem for the last decade.
I would say it's been 20 years.
Yeah,
I
bro.
think that this was a problem when we graduated, honestly.
It was a problem. It was a problem while we were in there. We were already hearing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we was already hearing it while
No,
we were in there.
I mean, graduate high school.
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were hearing it then, and we still went.
Well, I was forced. I ain't even gonna front. That's why I was like Jaleel. I had my caregivers making me go.
Yeah,
You
man.
know, and I expressed, I'm not a genius, but even at 18 years old, I knew that I didn't know who I was. And I was saying even back then, I don't really know who I am at this point, so I'm not exactly sure if it's a good idea for me to go to this place. But it didn't matter. I was the child and I wasn't given a choice. I was forced to go. So, for any of y'all kids out there who are being forced to go to college, I feel for you. I know how it feels.
Just pick engineer. I'll tell you, man, those kids from Nigeria, from India and stuff, where their parents are just forcing them to go to engineering school or medical school, they don't want to do it. And they be mad while they in school. I done seen them. I done talked to them. But them people on the back end of that, they making 6 figures plus. So if y'all is going to college, force yourselves to do something where the back end is $100K a plus.
Yeah.
So do yourself that favor. But all that other soft stuff where, you just going to get an entry-level job somewhere, you better off staying off at the house.
Yes, it is not it is not worth it to just be some sort of a coordinator or entry-level professional. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Shouts out to Jaleel White, bro.
Yes. Go Bruins.